I baked my own birthday cake this morning. Nothing fancy, just a yellow box mix with canned chocolate frosting what my mom used to make when I was little. I even added those same cheap rainbow sprinkles. I told myself it was for fun for nostalgia, but truthfully, I just didn't want the day to pass without something sweet. Today, I turned 22, and just like last year and the year before that, no one from my family said a word. I kept checking the family group chat. Nothing, not even a happy birthday from my dad, not even a thumbs-up emoji from my mom. They always forget, or pretend to, but somehow every year I still hold out for something, a text, a call, a sign that maybe I'm still in there somewhere tucked inside the part of them that remembers I exist. I moved out 2 years ago after finishing community college and enrolling in nursing school. I thought distance would dull the sting of being the afterthought. It didn't. My name is Mallory Dean. I'm the oldest daughter of John and Karen Dean, born and raised in suburban Ohio. I've always been the responsible one, the quiet one, the one who didn't need much. My younger sister Sienna is the opposite. Blonde, charming, always on stage literally and figuratively. She's majoring in media and communications. My parents adore her, and she knows it. I used to think that if I kept being dependable, if I didn't make waves, they'd notice me one day. That maybe I'd earn their love quietly the way people earn trust. But years go by, and all I've earned is silence. At 10 a.m., I stared at my phone for the 10th time. Still no messages, no missed calls. Still, I sent one. Hey, what time are we meeting for dinner? Group chat, Dad. Mom, Sienna. I waited. 5 minutes, then 10, then 30. Still nothing. Maybe they were planning something. Maybe they just forgot again. Or maybe deep down I knew this birthday would feel exactly like the last. And I just didn't want to admit it yet. By 3 o'clock, my hope had started to crack. Not in a dramatic way. It was more like something slow and familiar, like a wall that had been patched too many times giving in to the weather. I was folding laundry when I checked my phone again. Still no reply. I stared at the screen until the little gray text bubble disappeared, even though I'd imagined it was never there in the first place. I thought about calling my dad, but he never answers unknown numbers, and mine probably didn't even show up on his favorites anymore. So I called my mom. Karen Dean always picks up. She's the kind of woman who keeps her phone fully charged, cleans the house in the morning, and tells the neighbors how proud she is of her daughters. She's never missed a brunch. But birthdays mine in particular. Somehow those always seem to slip her mind. She answered on the second ring. Hey, sweetie, what's up? Her voice was bright, too bright. That tone she uses when she's walking through Target and doesn't want to seem rushed. I cleared my throat. Hey, I was just wondering. Are we still doing dinner? There was a pause. Not long. Just long enough for the air to shift. Then she let out a soft, ugh, the kind that says, I knew I forgot something, but I'm going to pretend I didn't. Oh, honey, I should have told you earlier, she said. We're going out tonight with Sienna. I blinked. With Sienna. She got invited to a media internship at the local station. Isn't that exciting? So we're taking her out to celebrate. It was kind of last minute. My mouth went dry. It's my birthday. She laughed, not mean. Just dismissive. Oh, don't be so dramatic. We'll do something for you next weekend. This is a big opportunity for her. Try to be happy. Okay? In the background, I heard Sienna's voice, cheerful, careless. Is that Mal? Tell her we'll bring her leftovers? More laughter. That was the moment it hit me. This wasn't an oversight. This wasn't forgetfulness. They remembered. They just chose her. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear. Sure. Have fun, I said, voice even. Then I hung up before she could say anything else. Not because I was angry, but because I refused to let her hear me fall silent. I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time after the call. Not crying, not shaking, just still. It wasn't sadness that held me there. It was the weight of being right. Again. Of knowing exactly how this day would go before it began and still hoping like a fool that this year would be different. My phone was still in my hand. I didn't mean to call anyone. My thumb just moved almost without permission, and Riley's name lit up the screen. Riley was my girlfriend. We'd met 2 years ago in a microbiology class neither of us wanted to take. She sat next to me on the first day, offered me a peppermint, and said I looked like someone who never asked for help even when I needed it. She wasn't wrong. She picked up on the first ring. "Hey, beautiful," she said, then paused. "Wait. What's wrong?" I told her. Not everything just enough. About the call, the tone, the leftovers. She didn't hesitate. "Come over. Now. My parents are making steak tonight. We'll celebrate you the way you deserve." I didn't argue. Riley lived 20 minutes away in a quiet cul-de-sac with her moms, Ellen and Dana, who had been together longer than I'd been alive. They weren't flashy or loud. They were the kind of people who always had tea in the cabinet blankets on the couch and space at the table for one more. When I pulled into their driveway, Riley was already outside waiting. She opened the passenger door before I could even unbuckle. "I'm so glad you came," she said, pressing a kiss to my cheek. Inside, Ellen greeted me with a hug that didn't ask permission. "Happy birthday, sweetheart," she said, taking my coat. "You're just in time." Dinner wasn't extravagant, but it was intentional. Dana had opened a bottle of wine, and Riley had set the table with cloth napkins. Someone had even printed a name card with my name on it, handwritten, underlined in gold pen. It wasn't about the food. It was that every part of the evening felt like someone had thought about me. Not out of obligation, just because they cared. After dessert cheesecake, my favorite, Riley handed me my phone. "Take a picture," she said. "You deserve to remember tonight." I snapped a photo of the dining room table, the candles, the empty wine glasses, the little card with my name. Then I posted it. "Huge thank you to the people who showed up for me today. I'm so lucky to have found a real family. No hashtags, no explanation. Just the truth." I didn't expect anyone in my family to see the post. It was late, and they weren't exactly glued to my feed. But less than 40 minutes after I hit share, my phone started buzzing like it had caught fire. First came the text from my mother. "Mom, Mallory. What is this post?" Then from my dad. "Dad, are you serious right now?" Then the calls. 1, 2, 3. I let them ring. I sat on the couch between Riley and Ellen, phone face down on my thigh, pretending not to notice. But inside, something was tightening. Not fear, not guilt. It was something sharper, something I didn't have a name for yet, but it felt a lot like power. On the 4th call, I picked up. "Hi, Mom," I said calmly. Karen Dean's voice hit me like a gust of perfume, pleasant on the surface, suffocating underneath. "What the hell are you doing, Mallory? I'm having dinner," I said, with people who remembered it was my birthday. She gasped like I'd stabbed her. "Don't play games with me. You know what I'm talking about. That post, people are seeing it. Your Aunt Sharon called. Your Uncle Mark. Do you have any idea how this makes us look?" Across the room, Riley stiffened. Ellen gave me a small nod like she could hear everything without needing the words. I held the phone tighter. "I wasn't trying to make anyone look bad," I said. "I just told the truth." "You're blowing this way out of proportion," she snapped. "You know we would have celebrated with you if we didn't already have plans with Sienna. We raised you, Mallory. This is how you repay us." And there it was. Not concern, not apology. Control. My dad's voice suddenly took over the call. His tone low tight. "You need to take that post down. Now." I leaned forward, elbows on knees. "No. Mallory." His voice sharpened. "If you don't, there will be consequences." I looked up at Riley, then back at the wall. "Like what?" There was silence. Then muffled voices, my mom whispering something sharp in the background, like she thought she couldn't be heard. Then my dad again. "We're coming over." A pause. Just long enough for me to decide not to panic. "Okay," I said, voice level. "See you soon." I ended the call before either of them could say another word. Riley turned toward me, brows raised. "They're coming here." "Yep." Ellen stood up slowly from the armchair. "Then let them come," she said softly. "They should see what it looks like when love doesn't need to be earned." I looked at the door heart steady for the first time all day. For once, I wasn't afraid of what they'd say. I was ready to let them hear me. The knock wasn't polite. It came hard and fast, 3 sharp bangs followed by a pause, then 2 more. I stood from the couch. Riley gave my hand a squeeze, but didn't say anything. Ellen and Dana were in the kitchen now, quietly giving me space, but not leaving me alone. When I opened the door, my mother stepped in like she owned the house. Karen Dean wore her Sunday face hair, smoothed lips, pressed eyes, already scanning the room like she was assessing damage. My father followed close behind, taller, broader, quieter, but no less angry. His jaw was locked, his fists tight at his sides. "Mallory," she said, "we need to talk. Now." She glanced over my shoulder and saw Riley, then Ellen behind her. I saw the flicker in her face, the calculation, the discomfort. "Not here," she added, voice stiff. "Let's step outside." I didn't move. "If you have something to say, you can say it right here." She blinked. "Mallory, please. Don't make this more difficult than it already is." I crossed my arms. I'm not the one who made it difficult. My dad stepped forward. "Enough with the attitude." "Attitude," I repeated. "You mean standing up for myself?" My mom sighed, pinching the bridge of her nose. "We are not going to let you embarrass us like this." Dana stepped just slightly into view at the edge of the hallway. She didn't say anything, just watched. "You've got people asking questions?" my mom continued. "They're calling us, your aunts, your cousins. Do you know how humiliating this is?" I nodded slowly. "Then maybe don't give them a reason." "You think this is funny?" my dad asked. "No, but it's honest." He looked ready to explode. My mom stepped in before he could. "We are your parents," she said, voice rising. "We deserve some respect." "Respect," I echoed. "Like the respect you showed me this morning, or last year, or the year I turned 16 and you canceled my birthday dinner because Sienna had a stomachache." Her mouth opened, then closed. "You've made it abundantly clear who comes first, every time, and I'm tired of pretending I don't see it." My mother's eyes narrowed. "So this is what this is about? You're trying to replace us with them." She nodded toward Riley, toward Ellen and Dana, just beyond the kitchen light. I didn't flinch. "No, you've been replacing me for years. I just finally stopped pretending I didn't notice." For a moment, the room held its breath. Then my mother's voice dropped soft and sharp. "You're going to regret this." I met her eyes. "That's what you said the last time you forgot." The silence after my last sentence was thick, almost physical. No one moved. My mother's lips parted, but nothing came out. My father's jaw worked like he was grinding his teeth. Then she recovered, smooth, practiced. She took one step forward, folding her arms across her chest in a way that looked maternal, but wasn't. Karen Dean knew how to posture authority without raising her voice. That was always her talent. "You don't realize what you're throwing away," she said quietly. I raised an eyebrow. "Enlighten me." Her eyes flicked toward the others in the room. "This is not the place." "Sure it is," I replied. "You showed up here, remember?" She held my gaze for a beat longer than expected, then smiled a tight, calculated curve. "Your father and I had plans for you," she said, "and if you keep acting like this, don't expect to be included when it comes to the house, or the accounts, the lake property. There it was. The inheritance. Like it was supposed to break me." John Dean finally spoke again, voice low. "You're walking away from everything we've built." I laughed, quiet, almost involuntary. It slipped out of me like air after holding my breath too long. "You built something," I said. "Just not for me." "Don't be ridiculous," he snapped. I turned toward him fully. "No, I'm being honest. You two built your perfect family around Sienna, and I was just background, reliable when needed, invisible when inconvenient." "That's not fair," my mom said sharply. "What part isn't?" I asked. "That I was never your priority, or that I finally stopped pretending it didn't hurt?" She stepped closer. "Mallory, don't do this. You'll regret it. Money isn't everything, but you'll need it one day." I nodded slowly. "You're right. Money isn't everything." Then I smiled. "But peace is." I stepped back slightly, not out of fear, but to make space for what needed to be said. "You think you're holding something over me, But you've got it backwards. I don't want what comes with your strings, your house, your accounts, your legacy. They've never had room for me." Karen looked stunned. My dad looked like he didn't know whether to yell or leave. And then I added softer. "The people who celebrated me tonight didn't offer me a dime, just a seat at the table." From the kitchen, Ellen's voice floated in. "And that seat is always yours." My mother turned sharply toward the sound eyes narrowing. "You think these people can replace your family?" I met her eyes one last time. "No, they didn't replace you. You gave up your place. I just stopped waiting for you to take it back." My mother stood still for a moment like she couldn't decide whether to lash out or back away. Then her voice shifted. The edge softened. It almost sounded like regret, but I knew better. Karen Dean didn't apologize. She recalibrated. "You think we don't love you?" she said, quieter now. "After everything we've done, I didn't answer right away." I let the weight of that question settle between us. Behind me, I felt Riley take a slow breath. Not loud, but I noticed. So did my mother. Her eyes landed on where Riley stood close to me, steady, not backing away. That's when it changed. Karen's expression shifted again, tightened at the edges. "So this is what this is about," she said, her voice now bitter. "You're letting them turn you against us." She gestured vaguely toward Riley, toward Ellen and Dana still standing quietly at the kitchen entrance like the calm before a storm. "You're trying to replace your family with strangers." That word strangers hung in the air. I took a breath. "No, I'm not replacing anyone. You just stopped showing up and someone else did." My father, still rigid beside her, muttered something under his breath. Probably the same thing he always thought, but never had the guts to say out loud. My mother stepped forward again. "I am your mother," she said, her voice rising but not shaking. "You will never get rid of me. We are blood, Mallory. You don't just erase that." I looked at her not angrily, not even sadly. Just clearly. "I don't need to get rid of you," I said. "You already erased yourself." She flinched. It was quick but real. For once, her face cracked. "You pushed me out long before I ever walked away. Year after year, you made it clear where I stood. I begged for crumbs of your attention, and when I stopped begging, you got angry." She didn't speak. Maybe couldn't. "You always had a favorite," I continued. "You made sure I knew it. I was the one who didn't ask for much, so I became the one who got nothing. That wasn't love. That was convenience." My dad finally stepped forward. His voice was flat. "You're being dramatic." I turned toward him. "No, I'm finally being honest." That was the moment it shifted. For the first time, I watched them realize they no longer had control. No threats, no guilt, no family dinners held over my head could reel me back in. I saw it in their faces, not just anger, but something else. Loss, not of a daughter, of power. Dana stepped forward, quiet but firm. "I think it's time for you both to go." Karen looked at her like she'd been slapped, but she didn't argue. John said nothing, just turned and walked toward the door, stiff and small. They left without another word. The door shut behind them with a soft, final click. And I stood there, still breathing, still whole. For a few seconds after the door shut, no one spoke. The quiet wasn't awkward. It was earned. I stood there, still facing the entryway, breathing in the kind of silence that didn't feel empty. It felt like space, like peace. Riley came up beside me first, her hand brushing mine. "You okay?" she asked softly. I nodded. "Yeah, I think I am." Behind us, Ellen and Dana moved back into the room. Dana handed me a glass of water without saying a word. Ellen just gave me a look, the kind that didn't need translation. It said, "You did what needed to be done." And I had. For the first time, I hadn't backed down. I hadn't begged. I hadn't tried to make them comfortable at my expense. I'd told the truth. And I let it be uncomfortable. Riley led me back to the couch. We sat there for a while, shoulder to shoulder. No one filled the silence because no one had to. That was the difference between love and obligation. Love waits with you. Obligation watches the clock. "I kept thinking it would feel worse," I said finally. Dana smiled from across the room. That's because you're not losing anything. You're just setting it down. I took another sip of water and looked around. The candles on the dining table had burned halfway down. The card with my name was still there, gold ink soft in the glow. It hadn't been a party. It had been better. They hadn't sung. They hadn't brought gifts. But they'd remembered me. And they'd stayed. It was almost midnight when my phone buzzed again. I glanced down without urgency, half expecting one last voicemail from my dad. But it wasn't him. It was Sienna. Sienna, Mom, and Dad are livid. You really messed up this time. There was no happy birthday. No, are you okay? Just that. A warning. Or maybe a flex. Like she was watching it all from the front row, popcorn in hand, still untouched by the mess she helped make. Riley leaned in. Who is it? I turned the screen toward her. She read the message, then handed it back with a quiet, "Of course." I stared at it for a while, thumb hovering over the keyboard. For a moment, I imagined writing something back, calling Sienna out for every time she took center stage while I faded into the background. I wanted to ask if she even remembered my birthday had been today, or if she had just enjoyed being the reason no one else did. But the longer I looked, the more I realized something simple. I didn't need to explain myself anymore. She'd known, and she'd let it happen. That was enough. I put the phone down without replying. Instead, I picked up another device. Ellen's old baking book still sat on the sideboard from earlier lemon cookies, bookmarked with a yellow sticky note. I stood and walked into the kitchen. "I think I'm going to start a tradition," I said. "Cookies at midnight, something simple, but mine." Ellen turned from the sink. "Want help?" I smiled. "No, but maybe just company." She dried her hands and took a seat at the kitchen table. "I think I've got that covered." As the oven warmed and the dough came together under my hands, I thought of all the birthdays that had passed without cake, without kindness, and how this one, the quietest of them all, had become the loudest in truth. Not because they remembered me, but because I remembered myself. The cookies were cooling on a tray when Riley joined me in the kitchen, her sweatshirt sleeves pulled over her hands. "Midnight cookies, huh?" she said, stealing one while it was still warm. "They're not perfect," I replied, watching the edges crumble in her fingers. "They don't have to be," she said. "Neither do you." We sat in the quiet hum of the kitchen, me, Riley, Ellen reading at the far end of the table, Dana somewhere in the living room. The kind of silence that never existed in my old house. There, even the quiet carried sharp edges. I thought of all the cards my parents gave me over the years, unsigned, generic, bought last minute at gas stations. I'd kept a few. I didn't know why. Tonight, I took one out, the last one I'd received, a pale pink thing with a gold border and no message inside. I folded it once, then again, dropped it in the trash without a word. "Going somewhere?" Riley asked, gently watching me grab my coat. "Yeah," I said. "We're getting drinks." She stood falling into step beside me without question. "For your birthday?" "No," I said, smiling faintly. "For my peace." As we stepped outside into the cool night air, I didn't feel the weight I usually carried on days like this. No guilt, no tightness in my chest, just breath, just movement. I wasn't walking away because I wanted to be loved. I was walking away because I was done pretending. If they only remembered you when others were watching, just leave a dot. You don't need to explain.